Good morning. All right. 1992. Some people, not so long ago. Other people, it feels like a long time ago, but it's 21 years. I wrote this, Spiritual Survival Kit. Has everybody read it? Remember it? This was like it. And I wrote it for somebody to show them what Baba taught. It was Baba's teachings. It was there. And the person had no clue about Baba's teachings, even though they had been with Baba 8 years. They had no clue about this. They thought Baba's teachings was sitting and singing the Guru Gita. And thank God for me, that wasn't Baba's teachings. That was something we did, but that wasn't Baba's teachings. Because if it was, so the main thing was, and I learned it backstairs, Baba, in the afternoon, after lunch. Be with your experience, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Let whatever come up, come up. Whatever it is, whatever. And function appropriately, efficiently on the physical plane. Only 3 steps. Only 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. 3. Only 3. 3. There's not a 4th step. And most of you use the 4th step as the most important step. The 4th step that doesn't even exist. And that 4th step is repackaging, abstracting, mitigating, figuring out, processing. Why? 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 So, what experience do you have right now? Honest, because it has to be honest.
A little nervous.
Nervous. Trepidation is the word. Okay, so you be with it. What? You let whatever come up, come up. You then function efficiently on the physical plane. So right now, you are not to go running around this room like a banshee. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now the 4th step would be, why am I doing this? And if you ask yourself that, where do you go?
Right up to your head.
And you then lose
the practice.
the practice. You lose everything. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Totally gone. The whole thing of Sahaj Samadhi, being in the heart and looking out at the world simultaneously. And something comes up, and you go, why? Let me figure it out. Let me process it. What happens? You lose all connection to you, lose all connection to God. Total. Gone. Gone. No practice. Nothing. When I stood in that back step with Baba, we didn't do a fourth step. There wasn't any of these fourth steps. And all the years with Baba, we didn't do the mitigate, abstract, repackage, process. Oh, thank God he did the process. Figure out. Because what I learned, and part of what I learned was because I did what he told me. I obeyed him. He tells me to move right, I move right. Well, maybe I should move. No, you move right. That's it. That's it. Just was there with the experience. Whatever it is. Did Baba mind that I had varying experiences while I was standing there? No. Partly because by the time I was maybe 2 minutes in, poof, it dissolved. Not only did he show me the practice, he showed me what happens. Solutions are not decisions. They're not a decision. I've decided. No. Solutions are stilling the vibrations. And then God becomes the doer and the answers are right there. That's why we then function efficiently on the physical plane. When I say let whatever come up, it doesn't have let whatever come up, and then figure it out. It doesn't say let whatever come up, and then process whatever it is. It doesn't mean let whatever come up, and then go have coffee and have a reason to have a chat with somebody. Because by the time you have that chat with somebody, if you were actually letting whatever come up, you got a whole different story. By the time you got in the car and got to the cafe and you ordered your latte or double espresso, we're done. It's already a different story. And it might not be as good as the one you originally did. Be with your experience, whatever it is. That's 24 hours of the day. That's not only just in here. That's not when you walk out for 3 minutes and then by the time you get in the car and you're gone, you're off and running. That's not once a week. That's not twice a week. That's not 4 times a week. That's all the time. Why? Because everything, all this, everything, everywhere, at all times, in all places, and all the time is God. It's all God. All of it. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it's still God. It's all God. And if you're not willing to be with God, then you're just mushing around, and you're going to bang against walls, and you're going to bang into trees, and you're going to bang into something, and you're going to have just a fabulous time. Or you could ride the horse in the direction it's going, be with God, be in harmony. Those are the choices. They really are. Those are the 2 choices. You can either be in harmony with, well, I don't want to play the game. And why does God play in this game? Because He is. Because this is what it is. This is it. So we can either be attached and identified to whatever it is all the time, or we can actually just let God be the doer, be in harmony with God, and go, wow, This is bliss. This is love. And I'm not talking about the love that is opposite hate. The love that's opposite hate is attached to hate. No, I'm talking about that third choice. So remember, last year, it's a little later than this, it was in beginning of October, I did the talk where I put these here. Though I would like this right now, but I'm not working on it. We should be, globally. Okay, and so I did, this is the opposites, right? This is what we tend to do. This is our normal mind. We oscillate back and forth. I'm a good girl, I'm a bad girl, I'm a good girl, I'm a bad girl, I'm a good boy, I'm a bad boy, I'm a good boy, I'm a bad boy, I'm a good boy, I'm a bad boy, I'm a good boy, I'm a bad boy. Right? And then, every once in a while, we're sure. I'm sure I'm a good boy. I'm sure I'm a good girl. This goes away. I'm sure. I'm a good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good boy. Sure. Good boy. And everybody thinks this is great. Decision making, confident, clear, done. Then what happens?
Flips.
It flips. Uh-oh. I'm a bad boy. I feel so bad. I'm a bad boy. Bad boy, bad boy, bad boy, bad boy, bad girl. Bad girl, bad girl. Bad, 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 bad. And I'm sure. And when we're in these places, it's 100%. There usually isn't any objectivity saying, I'm okay. This is just a trip I'm on. No, this is it. This is it. That's that sure voice. And most people think that sure voice is the good thing. Is what?
So it's them.
It's
the
them.
authentic voice.
It's absolutely the authentic, true voice, and therefore it's God's voice. This is God's voice. If that's God's voice, if there was any place we could go that God wasn't, I'd be there. If that's God's voice. Why? Why? What's wrong with this voice? What's wrong with this being God's voice? Come on. Yeah.
Well, it's not informed by, I mean, it just goes with whichever way the wind blows, the good or the bad, back and forth, and it's not.
Is it real?
Not
No.
permanent.
It's not permanent, it's not real, is it authentic? No. It's definitive, loud, solid, direct, sure, and wrong. Wrong? Most times? Wrong?
And also has a very narrow perspective.
Exactly. Very narrow perspective. It is just sure. Sure. It's as narrow as we are. And I gave this talk. And then what did I say? We have to give this up. These, actually, when we're oscillating, is better than when we have a sure voice. Because there's less of a hold than when we're definitive. Definitive is like we're the most out there rigid.
Committed to wrong at that point.
Exactly, committed to wrong. Defending at all costs the small self. Once we start this, I'm not so sure. Then what? If we're practicing being with our experience, let whatever come up, come up. Functioning efficiently, which means not being lunatics out there. Functioning efficiently on the physical plane. If we're boring into the heart, lo and behold, we find this voice. Is this voice anything to do with these voices? Is it a completely different voice? Yes. Is it sure? Doesn't mean sure. It just is. It's real. It's our authentic voice. The whole purpose of writing the survival kit was to show this. This, if we're working to get to this, we're in trouble. If we start doing, figuring out, mitigating, deciding, all that stuff, we're losing it. We're further away. We are not practicing. And if what we think is that in here we stop doing that, but out in the real world you have to figure out, you have to mitigate, you have to do all that, then you don't believe the God's out there. God is everywhere. I mean it. There is no place that God is not. There's no place that God says, I've decided not to be there. Need to give this up. Need to be authentic. So there's a word I've used in the last few days that people have a hard time getting. Repackage. What does repackage mean?
Become sure about or decide on your whatever's come up.
Okay. Or you turn it into something, if it's something bad, that you justify it and you make it something that you can be okay with. Yep, Yep, both of you, right? Yep, go ahead.
You take personal ownership of, in a small sense, of what it is, and you make it your own thing that satisfies you, not what's really there, that's palatable to you.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I could say egg. I put it into a bowl, I mix it up, I cook it, and now I hand it to you. You just wanted an egg. You didn't necessarily want a scrambled egg, but I decided I'm going to give you a scrambled egg because that's what I've repackaged it, because that's what I want to give you, scrambled egg. I'm going to repackage that same thing and give you a fried egg. You get an omelet. No cheese. Poached egg. Yeah. That's repackaging egg. When you could have just given them an egg. But we decide what kind of egg you want, whether you get to say, you have no say. I decide what you can handle, not handle. I decide what's going to be said and not said. I decide how I want to look. So I'm going to repackage. So sometimes I'll ask you how you are. Do you know why I ask you that? Now you do.
Yeah.
So you can give the answer.
So we're in touch with our true self.
So you can give your authentic answer and not be repackaging it. So you begin the practice of actually not repackaging. When we've had a horrible experience, the tendency is to repackage it and make it into a palatable story that we don't want to listen to and no one else does either. A good storyteller makes the story what? Alive. What we tend to do is we squeeze out all the life out of our own lives, and that's what we share. How sad. And we think that's functioning efficiently on the physical plane. We think that's what we have to do. Now, do I squeeze the life out of things? Am I out there? You guys have been with me out there. You some, but not as much. Do I squeeze the life out of when we go to the bank? Do I mitigate? Do I abstract? Restaurants? The beach? Definitely not at the beach. Do I treat people who are not practicing as if I now need to mitigate, abstract, twist, turn? No. Why not? It's disrespectful. To whom? To God. To God. Does that mean you run around and are screaming at everybody? No. Be with your experience. Let whatever come up, and function efficiently and appropriately on the physical plane. It's that simple. It really is. That simple. So that you're always aware, going deeper and deeper into the heart, and you're stilling everything so that everything goes more and more, and that small self who doesn't get to abstract, figure out, he doesn't have a show anymore. He, she, it doesn't have a part anymore. It becomes less solid. It becomes more receptive. And the more receptive it is, it gets to merge back. And it's with God. But if we're not receptive, if we're sure we want our individual to say and do and be, and the only time that we don't do that is here once a week. It's like going to church or temple or mosque or any of it. And it actually, this would dilute because it would make us feel better, and then we have the rights, so we become righteous, and we can go out there and do whatever the heck we're doing. All the time. All the time. You want to be alive? It's all the time. And we're not going to do Sisyphus. I get alive, and then I go back. And then I get alive, and then I go back. And then I get alive, and get back. And then I get alive, anybody get bored? And go back. And then I go alive, and then I go back. Bored? Everybody bored now? Alive, and then I go back. Boring. Boring. Boring, 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 boring. For everybody. Everybody. And if you're doing that, and you're going out there doing that, please, I beg you, don't tell anybody you study with me. Don't tell anybody you study with me. All the time. All places. Everywhere. And if you do it, and you actually do it, do you find that lo and behold, it works? That life tends, even in the really crappy places, it works? Taimani, in his preface to the Yoga Sutras, talks about how this is, spiritual practice is like a science experiment. You gotta do it. Gotta do it. You gotta do it. You check it out. Check it out. It's not an abstraction. It's all the time. Whatever your lifestyle is, wherever you are, no matter what. All times. If you do a job crappily, whatever your job is, and you're just like pathetic at your job, and you practice, are you going to get better at your job? No, not necessarily. You might be just crappy at your job. But you'll feel a whole lot better. The expectation that there's it's not magic. It may be that your dharma is your contributing crappy worker to the universe. You're God in the form of a crappy worker. And you are supposed to surrender and be okay with crappy worker. Because you've now gone to every single different job, and you've even taken courses, and you're always just crappy worker. Okay, crappy worker. I surrender. I'm crappy worker. But I'm okay with it. Am I attached to crappy worker then? No. So when your boss tells you you're a crappy worker, you go, you are so right. Do you fight your boss?
No.
No. You don't, do you defend? No. You're right. And what happens if you're a crappy worker and you didn't get learner? I didn't get learner this time. It wasn't one of the chips in my thing. I'm stuck at crappy worker. Hopefully somebody will, and if I'm honest, maybe my boss will just put up with me somehow. Or I go from job to job. I sweep the streets. I'm okay. Crappy worker. But I'm okay. I mean, How many of us here anyways, right now, is like, it's up to you, the top, playing at the top of the top of the top of your game? Best worker in the world? No. Do you want to be? No. There you go. It's okay. You get to be crappy worker. Did you get fired? No. It's okay. Don't defend it. Give up being a big deal. Give up being attached and identified. Be with your experience, whatever it is. Let whatever come up, come up. And function appropriately on the physical plane.
One way of, I'm just listening to you now. To function efficiently, don't you have to give it at least a name? What it is that you experience? For example, I'm crappy at my job.
Oh,
Just
it's only if it comes up. You don't have to give it a name if it doesn't come up.
if you know when it comes up, if there's just like a step there, so you have to give it a name, so you know what it is.
Right. So, I mean,
That's
only...
part of being authentic.
It's part of being, yeah.
Honest with your experience, because you need to be clear on what you call. That's where the Foursquare comes in, is understanding what it is that you're actually experiencing, and being honest about that, and continuing to function.
Right.
So that's I think the Foursquare is actually where the bridge between the letting whatever come up and functioning efficiently.
Right.
Effectively or appropriately.
Appropriately, because you want to be able to call it. And as we are actually rest and sit with our experience, what will happen is, and we don't twist and repackage, we'll actually begin the process of hearing the actual answer. We'll be able to call it crappy when it's crappy. We won't be calling it, wow, that was a spectacular job and nobody liked it. And it's okay. Or it was, I did the best I could and it was crappy. Or, is it really crappy? Yeah, it's crappy. Or, it's okay, it's mediocre. Or, I expect this level for me and I only did this, so it's crappy. So each of us is going to do it whatever way we need to, but it is going to be whatever are authentic. And you're right about the Foursquare, because crappy, what's the opposite of crappy?
Good.
Good, excellent, excellent. Positive of crappy?
No big deal.
No big deal. Good. Negative of excellent?
Arrogant.
Arrogant, arrogant. So, was it great? Was it excellent, or am I arrogant? Is it crappy, or am I just no big deal? And I have to sit with it, and that's why I'll ask somebody, really? Was that it? Was it crappy, or was it no big deal? Oh, it was no big deal. Okay. Do you conflate crappy and no big deal? Do you want to be excellent and arrogant? There's a lot of you, yes. And there you go. Does that help? Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to close off with a Foursquare. A great Foursquare. You ready? Guilty. Guilty. Woohoo. Nobody, do you do guilt? Do you do guilt? Do you do guilt? Guilt? Like, that's like gilded guilt. Guilt? Yeah. Guilt? Guilt? Yeah. Guilt? 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 No. I talked to you better than that. Guilt? Yeah. Guilt? Yeah. Guilt? 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 Yeah. Yeah. Guilt. Yeah. Guilt. Okay. What's the opposite of guilt? Or guilty?
Innocence. No.
No.
I
Right.
mean,
No. Okay. Okay. Yeah? Changes of all of a sudden crack. There's cracking going on. Positive of guilty.
Aware.
Aware. Aware.
That was good.
Mm-hmm. Negative of okay.
Complacent.
Unconscious. Mm-hmm. So if you're okay, are you unconscious?
No. If you're okay.
Excuse me?
Sorry.
Filming, throwing things at people.
I can't see, it's too close to me. True.
Yeah. Okay, are you being with your experience? Letting whatever come up, functioning appropriately on the physical plane? That would be no. When you're okay, does everybody stop practicing? Yes, because you've reached your goal. You're fine. There's a pleasurable experience. I don't need to practice anymore. I attained it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Many, many years ago, a woman said to me, everything was going so well. And then it all crashed. When did it go wrong? I said, when it was going well. When it's going well, when we're okay, that means, all that means is our vehicles and nature is not playing with us right now, not haranguing us, not harassing us. That's when we should be going down in. We should be going deeper and deeper and deeper. That's when we practice because we don't have any resistance. We're not fighting the practice because I got a challenge here, I got a challenge here, I got to work here, I'm doing that. I'm guilty over here, I'm guilty for this, I hurt bad, feel bad, this. No, when we're okay, that's when we should be going deeper. That's when you should be working harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. But when we're okay, we go unconscious. We're just skating. Wow. Didn't see the thing, look out for ice, thin ice. Wow. And then we get smacked. And what happens? We get smacked, and what happens?
Guilty.
Guilty! Oh my God, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. And all of a sudden we're aware. Look what I did. Look what I did. Why weren't you looking what you were doing before? Because I was okay. Really? I'm unconscious. So we use guilty for our sadhana. We do guilt in order to then keep practicing, to be aware, to be awake. Yuck! If that's the case, I'm not practicing. I don't want to go to guilt in order to then go to God. That doesn't look so good. I have to be a criminal in order to be guilty, in order to go to God. How about I just be aware and awake, conscious, and okay? All of a sudden, what happened to that small self? It just goes no longer solid, no longer rigid, no longer anything. It lets go. That's why we don't want to go there, because we want to maintain our individuality, and we maintain our individuality through guilt and unconsciousness. As long as I feel bad, I'm solid. I know who I am. Boom. No. Enough. It's boring. Okay? Conscious. All of a sudden, everything just goes, oh, oh. That individual starts to dissolve. And then we can merge back to who we really are. Does this make sense? No. Practice. Be with your experience. Let whatever come up. Function appropriately, efficiently on the physical plane. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.